I don't know. Let me check my phone and see if it actually is working. Mm, maybe. Possibly. Let's refresh the page and see if it's on now. I don't know. I really sound like that? Wow. What's up, friends? I'm gonna give it a minute or two, to see if we get a few more people on here. But what's going on? Because even if you're watching the replay, you don't want me just sitting here staring at the computer awkwardly for a minute while I wait for people. do 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 do. For anyone who is tuning in right now, or who's watching the replay later, uh, hopefully my sound is okay. Apologies if it's not the best. I'm having issues with my laptop right now where um, the fan keeps turning on even when the computer's not hot. It's running the fan unnecessarily, so it's really loud, and that's why when I record audio, typically I have the computer out of the booth, and I just have a monitor. So obviously I need to upgrade to a desktop computer, and I think the universe is trying to tell me that it's time, because now when I'm trying to do stuff live, this is not the ideal setup. So yeah. Anyways, as you do come in, or even if you're watching this on the replay, please let me know you are here. Say hello and where you're from. I'd love to know where you're watching from. So please let me know. Let me know. I want to know where you live. It's not weird at all. Uh, yeah, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to find out just because, not for any weird reasons. Okay, so I'm gonna give it another quick minute here, and then we're gonna jump right in. We are talking about staying inspired, staying creative tonight, which is my favorite topic because so many of us, not just creative entrepreneurs, but people in general, want that magic back. You know, you get to this point where you feel like you were so creative and inspired and everything was so wonderful when you were a kid, or maybe even just when an idea first popped in your head. Like maybe you just recently got the inspiration to become an actress or a singer or start making jewelry, I don't know. And you got really excited, and then after a while, you kind of lost the spark. And now you're sitting here wondering, like, man, what's wrong with me? Why can't I, stay consistent or stay excited about it? Or, oh, maybe it's just not for me anymore, you know? No, that's not the case, my friends. Inspiration. I guess I'm just going to dive into this because I don't know how many people are going to come on, so we're just going to go in. Let me take a sip first. I made this nasty tea. So, before I jump in, side note for anyone who is interested, I've been going through the same health challenges for a couple years and then 1 year for the esophagus and reflux thing. Allergies and other weird stuff. Years and years and years in the making. But I have gotten to a point in my life where I am a believer in both modern Western medicine and Eastern naturopath, all of that. Like, I love both. I value both heavily, so I combine them both now, and I've seen that work for me. For example, I'll go to the doctor, get my checkup, and I'll take medication if it's needed. Like, my reflux was so bad, I tried every natural cure. I tried to diet correctly, and I still was dealing with it to the point of esophagitis, right? Literally my esophagus burning up. So I'm a fan of both Western and Eastern medicine, like tea and such, because sometimes I need the medication or the shot or whatever. And then after that, after I've done that, I'm like, you know what? Why don't we try some herbs and teas? It's not going to kill me or, do any damage. So, anyways, I'm on reflux medication right now because it's working and I'm doing what they tell me. But I'm also drinking licorice root and oregano tea, and it tastes like butt. So, no, I've not tasted butt. But it tastes gross, okay? But it feels good. So, we are talking about creativity today, how to stay inspired. And again, it's sort of our natural state, right? When we're kids, we are just full of imagination and creativity, and we feel unlimited and excited about the world and about life. And I think where we go wrong is that we think that that's all naivete. Oh, well, wait until you pay bills, wait until you're in the real world. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Mm, I get that. I'm an adult now, and yes, I do pay bills, and there's a lot of turmoil going on in the world. But at the same time, the one thing we get to control, right, is our perspective, is how we decide to see the world and see the things that are going on and how we want to feel. So if that's the one thing we can control, cannot control government, other people, world events, what's going on, right? COVID was a perfect example of that. We could not control what was happening in that situation, but we could control our perception. And so I think that the lie you're told is, once you hit teenage years, well, now you need to start thinking about the real world and about when you graduate and you become an adult. And people mean well. What they mean is, we want to make sure you don't starve. We want to make sure you make money and you're safe and protected and you are doing well in life and you're happy. So it's well meaning, but it's a lie, my friends, because creativity and feeling inspired is a state of being that you can tap into at any time. So, why then do we go through these periods where we feel like we're blocked, where we just can't get into the creative vibe? You have writer's block, or if you're an actress, you're doing a script, and usually you knock this type of thing out of the park, but it's just not flowing tonight, right? You're just bombing, or you just don't feel like it. Maybe you just don't wanna. I've been just saying like the words I don't wanna, like it's a disease, right? The I don't wanna disease. Sometimes you just have those days where you're just over it. So there are a couple things I think that happen that block our creativity. And again, it's not that creativity and inspiration is something that comes and goes, it's always available. It's just a matter of being able to tap into it. So we're going to chat about this for a few minutes, and then we're actually going to do an exercise that's going to be really fun. So we'll get to that. Like I was saying earlier, things that cut off our flow, right? Our creative, inspired inspiration, all of that flow, is life happening, right? Things get busy, you have kids, your job is crazy, you're sick. Life events happen, and sometimes that can just take us out. And it's not so much the emotional turmoil, because creating when you're sad or grieving, angry, scared, sick, man, some artists have created the most amazing paintings, songs, uh, books, all kinds of things when they're in emotional turmoil. So it's not so much that the emotions are keeping you from creating. I think it's all of the thoughts around what's going on. So it's just us getting in our head. Because again, if it was the fact that you're grieving because you lost someone, or you got a bad diagnosis and now you're scared, then you wouldn't see so many kind of tragically beautiful pieces of art in the world that were made while people were going through struggles. So it's about the stories around the situations going on, right? So it's not the fear that you're experiencing from the diagnosis. It's all of the thought patterns of, what am I going to do? What are we going to do as a family? What about the medical bills? And you're just running these thought patterns over and over. And when you're in your thinking, logical mind, it's very hard for creativity to flow through, because creativity and inspiration is not in the logical mind. The logical mind is what takes those things and formulates them into steps, actions, ideas. But it's not the source, right? So we need the logical thinking mind, right? That's where math comes from. Not to say that math isn't creative, but math is just a good example of something that's very structured and logical. And we need those things. But when you are sitting down to create, when you are trying to stay inspired so that you can, if you have a creative business, run that creative business every day and take steps toward it every day. You need to be in that flow as much as you can. So yes, we are going to use our logical mind and have our planning sessions and think and do strategies and structures and You got to take your kids to school and put them to bed and plan the meals. Of course, you got to live your life. But whenever you are not in the midst of absolutely needing to use that logical mind to think, you want to shut it off. That's why meditation is so great, and mindfulness. You don't have to sit down and meditate in order to have a more clear, open channel. You don't see kids sitting down to meditate, and they are incredibly creative and imaginative, right? So how are kids always in that state of playfulness and believing in any of their dreams, that anything could happen, right? It's just because they're not sitting there in their logical minds like we are analyzing everything. So, again, when you are not absolutely needing to analyze everything and think from that logical mind and figure it out, let it go, baby. This is why, aside from just meditation, I love mindful activities like just walking, like just sitting outside and looking at the birds while you drink your coffee. You don't have to sit and close your eyes and do this whole thing. Organizing your closet, cleaning out your car, like those little things that help kind of clear the mind a little bit. Because when you're going from stress and chaos and struggle and thinking, and then you try to flip it into, I'm going to sit down and create, I'm going to paint, I'm going to write because that's what I love, I'm going to take a workshop and get into reading a script and do my acting. Sometimes you just can't make that switch fast enough. And so you're really struggling to stay present because you tried to go from way up here to way down here where the flow is in a second, right? So that is why I love the mindful activities. Breathing exercises, right? Now that we have YouTube, you guys, we could just pop up here on YouTube and just say breathing exercises, 5 minutes, right? The world is at your fingertips with YouTube. So we got to get out of that logical thinking mind, okay? The other reason I feel like, aside from just life being crazy and us overthinking and being overstressed, the other reason that creativity often feels blocked, in my opinion and in my experience, is that we put so many expectations on what we're trying to create, what we're trying to do creatively, right? So rather than when you're in the beginning of starting a journey, when I was in the beginning of starting my music journey, when I was in the beginning of starting my voice acting journey in 2024, I started taking classes in May 2024, yeah. I was so excited. I was like a little kid. I was giddy. I went home after the first workshop where here in Las Vegas, where I learned everything about the studio and all the classes, and I got to hear people's demos and hear them talk about what it's like to be a voice actor and all the possibilities. I went home and I was like jumping up and down like a little kid, right? And I had a smile on my face, bigger, my cheeks were hurting. I was just so happy. And that lasted for a while. I was taking every class I could possibly afford, spending way too much money, invested thousands of dollars on equipment and classes, and I was still feeling it. I was so excited. And then what happened? I caught it early this time, so I'm getting back to my creative state. But just like with music, I got to the point where I started putting a plan in action. I got my demo and I was ready to start auditioning, right? I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, let's get it popping. I'm going to get popping in 1 year and I'm going to be full time because I'm a hustler, right? It's been exactly 1 year now since I started auditioning. And I'm booking well, but I'm not full time to where I could quit all my music stuff if I wanted to and just do voice acting. Not yet. I will be this year, I think. But anyways, as soon as I got to where I started doing the auditions, and I had to get into the nitty gritty, the logical thinking mind had to come into play. I had to set up profiles on acting or casting sites. I had to, adjust my website to add voice acting in because that wasn't there before. It was just music. I had to, basically start creating a portfolio, all the business stuff, right? I love business. I'm one of those weird people that actually gets excited about business and entrepreneurship, but there was so much strategizing and planning going on that slowly but surely, because I started putting expectations around it, it wasn't the business part. It wasn't even, so I take that back. It wasn't even the planning and the action steps. It was that I started putting expectations on, by this date, I should have this done. By this date, I should be full time, right? Within 1 year. So then, as the months are going by, rather than just being like, okay, well, I haven't quite made that much progress over the first 3 months. I wonder what needs to be adjusted. You hear that more curious vibe in that question versus what I did, which is, it's been 3 months. Why am I not even getting enough auditions to even be able to go full time? Like, the energy was different. It was demanding, it was analyzing and obsessing, and even when I was taking classes, I started to enjoy them less, and my level of presence went way down. I wasn't, in that imagination and creativity and that flow and all that happy smile that was going on in the beginning started to fade. Luckily, because I've done this with my music career before and I went through years of that, I was able to catch it early. So, well, I shouldn't say early. It's been like a year. But anyways, at least I'm catching it now. I've realized that I've put way too much pressure and expectation on my art and on my ability to, well, not my ability to create. I'm confident in what I can create as an actress, but the expectations around the results, around reaching the goals, uh, that's just been too heavy. It's been too heavy and it's clouded that ability to create. So, what I started to do in the last couple of weeks to turn that around was acknowledge the fact that I want to make some adjustments to whatever is going on in the algorithms of the casting sites to improve the amount of auditions that are coming into me. Sure, that is an action step I'm going to further take by setting up a one-on-one call with a voice actor who's like making over 200,000 a year and he's very in tune with the algorithms. That's an action step I'm taking. Now that that's set up, now that I have that plan, back to the flow, back to just enjoying creating and knowing that if I am continuing to take the action steps, it's going to unfold perfectly. So, my point is telling you the story that if you're in that position where you just keep losing inspiration and losing the steam, know that it's either lifing, as they say, and that's okay. And if that's happening, do whatever you need to do to take care of what's going on and yourself, because when you are burnt out and exhausted, you're not very creative, right? Because you need sleep. You need to recharge to be able to create properly. Or you're forcing yourself to do it, which you can do that, but it's going to be a lot harder and you're going to probably create some crap, to be honest. I've created some pretty crappy songs when I was really tired. I don't want to do that. So, life is lifing. Take care of yourself. Tell yourself it's okay. I don't care if it's a 6 month break. I don't care if I took like a 2 year break off of working on my own music. And I was just working on other people's songs that got me paid because I was like, I don't feel the inspiration. Something's wrong. I'm exhausted. I was sick. So I took 2 years off from really working on my album and I just started working on it again, right? 2 years gone. I can look at that as poor me. Oh no, I'm terrible. I'm the worst. I never do anything I say I'm going to do. Or I could just say, it's in the past. It happened. It was 2 years. I'm sure I needed the rest. I needed to reconfigure everything going on. Let's move on. Right? You're either there or you're blocking the flow by putting too much expectation on what you're doing. So we are removing expectations. Okay? We are going to do a fun little exercise. If you are in a position where you can sit down and grab either a piece of paper or your phone with a notes app, great. If not, that's okay. You can still participate. You'll just be basically creating this scenario in your mind. If you're someone who loves to draw, you can grab a piece of paper, pen, pencil, crayon, marker, whatever makes you happy. If you're an artiste, you don't have to be a good artist, just if you like to draw. Because we're going to be creating a character in a minute. If you're not really into drawing or painting, you can just, or maybe you're a writer. Maybe you like to write. You can write this down. If neither sounds good to you, then you can just listen to me explaining in just a minute what we're doing here, and you can just think of it in your mind. But I would love if you could also, I'm trying to see Am I able to see comments and stuff? I can't see them. If they are in here, I can't see them. Maybe I'll check my phone. Anyways, yeah, you can just listen. If you're driving or something, that's totally fine too. You can just listen. So, I'm going to give you guys a quick minute while I check my phone to see. Oh, there is a chat button. Oh my god. Hi. While I'm checking this, if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil or whatever, or open your notes app. Oh, what's up, Oliver? Butt tea. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna call it my butt tea because it does taste like butt. But I can't say that because then I'm gonna get somebody that's like, how do you know what butt tastes like? Butt tastes good. Cause there's some nasty people out there. All right, I'm gonna give you one more quick minute. Either that or I'm gonna market this tea and we'll call it butt tea. I should trademark that. Oh, good old butt tea. I think I'm getting used to it. Oh, but anyways, before we jump into the exercise, the reason for the oregano and the licorice root is, oh my god, I'm not getting used to it. I take that back. Licorice root is really soothing to your esophagus and your stomach. It's in a lot of like Ricolas. It's very, very soothing and calming, and it kind of hydrates. So that's good for my stomach issue and my esophagus. And then the oregano is like antifungal, antibacterial. So if you're a person like me who has had issues with sugar, who can't stop themselves, you may have an issue called candida overgrowth. I don't know if that's for sure the case. I've been told by naturopath doctors that I have that. It is not as widely researched as normal medical conditions, so my actual doctor is like, if I said the word candida to him, he'd probably roll his eyes like, that's not like a thing. Again, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I like combining Western medicine with natural medicine, so again, I'm doing both. I'm taking care of the candida stuff and all that, and I'm also taking the pills, so, you know, we're modern people nowadays. All right. So if you have your piece of paper or your notes app, if you'd like to close your eyes, I mean, I can't see you, so, you know, it's not like I'm going to be looking at you all weird. If you'd like to close your eyes, this will make it even more immersive. You don't have to, though. But here we go. So, I want you to create a character, okay? And before we start, I want to make it very, very clear that you are not trying to think of what you should create. You're not trying to think this character into being. What should he or she look like? I want you to just, every statement that I say, I want you to go with the first thing that pops in your head. And don't question it, okay? So don't sit there and think like, no, that's dumb. No. The first thing that pops in your head, I want you to write that or draw that. Okay, and I see another person came on, so if you just came on, if you can, and you would like to, grab a piece of paper. If you like to draw, you can sketch. If you don't like to draw, you can write this down, or you can just let it flow into your mind. All right, so we're going to create a character. And then I might close my eyes, too, to make this a little bit more interactive. So I want you to decide right now, is your character male, female, or neutral, right? Gender non-conforming. Just make that first decision. Okay? I want you to give your character a name. Whatever name pops in your head. This is for you. It could be Professor Poopy Pants. I don't care. It's your choice. Okay? Now, how tall is your character? Are they short? Average size? Super tall? And again, if you're sketching, you can go ahead and start sketching. First things that come to your mind. Don't overthink it. You're not showing this to anyone. You don't have to, so I don't care what it looks like. I can't even see it. Okay? So we have a name. We have a gender, or non-gender conforming. We have a height. And what is this person's body shape? Are they a little on the chunky side? Are they quite large? Are they athletic, buff, slim, skinny, super skinny? What's their body shape? I realize I should probably give you a little bit more time between each question, so I'm not rushing you. Okay. So you have the body shape in mind. What's their skin tone? Are we talking pasty, ghost white like me? Are we talking on the tan side? Shades of brown, dark skin? Whatever comes to mind. Okay. Now, do they have hair? Are they bald? Do they have hair on their head? Long hair? Short hair? What's the texture of the hair? Curly? Straight? Color, if I didn't say that already. Okay, so you have an idea of what their hair looks like. Okay, now let's get to the face here. What kind of face shape do they have? Is it sort of long and skinny? Do we have more of a heart-shaped face, where the chin kind of comes to more of a point? Do we have a wide face, a round face? Do we have some chubby cheeks going on there? If you're just coming on, this might look really weird because I have my eyes closed. It's because I'm trying to concentrate better. Anyways. Alright, let's move on to the eyes. What do their eyebrows look like? Do we have nice shaped manicured eyebrows? Do we have big bushy eyebrows? A unibrow, perhaps? What color? Or maybe you hardly have any eyebrows at all. I don't know. This is your character. What about their eye shape? What are the shapes of their eyes? Or what is the shape? Do we have the almond-shaped eyes? Are they puffy? Are they more round? Or shoot, they could be crazy looking. Maybe they have big anime eyes. This is all your creative idea. What color are their eyes? Remember, you can go wild. So, I should have mentioned earlier, but you do not have to stay within the realm of what a normal human being looks like. This can be a cartoon character if you'd like. This could be a demon, I don't know. What is their nose shape? Do they have a long, pointed nose? Maybe they're like Voldemort and they have no nose at all, just two slits, I don't know. Whatever tickles your fancy. Do they have a Dutch nose like me? That's pointy but squishy? A big nose? A flat nose? How about the mouth shape? Do they have super thin lips? Do they have big juicy lips? Pink shape or pink shade? Rosy red shade? Darker shade? Does your character have facial hair? Okay, let's move along. We kind of went over the body shape already, but let's give them some clothes. I mean, you know, unless you're feeling freaky and you want them to be naked, that's your business. But but otherwise, let's put some clothes on them. What clothes are they wearing from head to toe? I'm talking hats if you want them, beanies if you want them, or not. Shirt, sweatshirt, dress, skirt, pants, shorts, kilt, I don't know. PJs, pajamas. Oh, PJs and pajamas are the same thing. I meant to say swimming trunks. It's a very different thing. What are they wearing? Are they wearing shoes? Do they have nasty feet? I hate nasty feet. I'm sorry. Feet are just nasty to me, so I don't even know why I asked that question, because ew. Maybe they have nice manicured toes. Maybe they painted their toes. How cute. What kind of pattern? Is there a pattern on their clothes? What material are the clothes? Same with the shoes. If they've got shoes, what kind of shoes? What's the material? Maybe they're fresh to death and they've got some cool Nikes on. I don't know. Sandals? Bare feet? Now, any tattoos, piercings? What you got? What's on your mind? Okay. Now, does your character have any strange things about them? Trust the first things that come to your mind. Again, is there anything unusual? Doesn't have to be human. Remember, something that's just odd. What makes your character unique? I want to give you a minute before I try to feed you any examples to let whatever comes to mind just pop in first. Let your mind go wherever it wants to go. Do they have horns coming out of their head? I don't know. Wings? Do they have a wooden leg? Now, how does this person walk? Or do they walk? Maybe they float, maybe they glide, maybe they fly, I don't know. I want you to just picture their gait, kind of how they walk. Normal? They walk like a pimp with a little limp? Do they have really good posture or really poor posture? Do they have any physical deformities or things that make it a little awkward for them to walk? Maybe they got webbed feet, I don't know. Something wrong with their foot. What does their voice sound like? If you imagine them saying, "Hey, how's it going?" What would it sound like in your head? How would they interact with you? Picture them interacting with you like I am now, just like having a casual conversation. What would it sound like? What would their facial expressions look like? And if you're drawing, you can take a minute to kind of put in any extra details that you want. If you're writing, I'll give you a minute to just continue letting whatever comes to mind just pop in, notating it if you'd like, or, if you're not able to write it down, then just keeping it in your mind. I'm going to give you another minute, and then I would love, whether you're on here live or if you want to share it later in the comments, if you want to share any information about your character and what they look like, what they sound like, whatever, I'd love to hear about it. So I'm going to give you a minute, and then if you want to pop any of that into the chat, or if you're watching this after and you want to pop it in the comments, do that. I'm going to drink my nasty butt tea. Nasty butt tea. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Butt tea. Oh yeah. It's like boba tea, but it's butt tea. I feel like somebody would like it, and it sounds weird, but I feel like somebody would like it. Somebody out there would buy it. Oh. So if you're just joining us, we've been creating characters. So the whole point of this exercise of creating a random character is to open your mind up and just let it flow without putting expectation on what it should be like, right? With Oliver said with brown pearls. Yeah, if you just jumped on, I've been making my own herbal tea to help with some health stuff going on, and it tastes like butt. And I said that earlier. It tastes like butt, and so Oliver called it butt tea, and now we've been talking about marketing butt tea. And I said boba, and he said with brown pearls, so I like it. I like when it gets gross. Okay. So again, the point of doing this exercise, and I'm going to go over a couple other ones that can be fun to do on your own. The point is to free your mind to be able to just create something for fun without any expectation. When you're going through a time where your creativity feels blocked and you're just not able to express yourself and you're having that block and you're not inspired, doing a really silly exercise, a fun exercise that has no expectation is so freeing, and it's fun, right? But it's very important that you understand that no expectation part, because even when I've tried to like sit down in my adult years and like, well, I'm a creative person. If I'm stressed, I should just be, creating, because that would make me feel good and feel free. But then I put an expectation on it, like, well, it still needs to be good, because what if I want to put this out as a song later? And it's like, that's not the point, right? If you're sitting down to write your album or write your book or you're doing something for a client, yes, of course, you're wanting to craft it to be good, right? But if you were just trying to get in the creative flow, and then particularly when you're feeling that block, just do something silly. Do something fun. Interesting. A female character of myself during a miserable time in my life. That's deep, man. That's deep. Okay. I was not expecting something so deep. Probably just because I kept talking about butt tea, I was thinking like it was going to be something crazy. But no, that's really cool, and that's why I love when you just trust that whatever wants to come through is going to come through creatively. Sometimes it surprises you, right? Sometimes something really deep flows through. Other times it's something funny, silly, goofy, right? You have no idea what is going to come through. And that is why it's so important not to put the expectations there, right? So another thing I like to do when I'm feeling super blocked and it's just not flowing is intentionally create something ridiculous. Intentionally create something really funny or stupid or silly. So my mom and my auntie know all about this because they've contributed to this. At one point, I was feeling so uninspired and I was going through a hard time. This was years ago. It was probably about 5 years ago. No, it was before me and my husband started dating. So, geez, like 8 years ago. I just was not feeling it. I was not vibing. I was not creating. And I just said, you know what? I used to write poems when I was in middle school. That's how I started songwriting, was writing poems, right? And back then, they were very angsty because the life of a 13-year-old is full of drama, and it was hard. It was hard being 13. It actually was, because that was the worst time in my life. Being in middle school sucked. It's awkward. You start getting bullied, and I got bullied really bad by girls. That's why I didn't have any girlfriends for years. It's not because I was like, oh, I was trying to hang out with the boys. It's because I didn't have girlfriends because I didn't trust women, right? Other than the women in my family, I did not trust girls. They were so mean to me, right? But yeah, I started writing poetry when I was around 13, and I just remembered that. I'm like, wow, that's how part of how my creativity started and how my songwriting started. So why don't I just write some poems? But that expectation started to creep in. But what could I do this for? Could I put together a collection of poems that I can put out? My business mind, my entrepreneurial mind said it needs to be something that can be productive. And that kills creativity, because we know that we're going to figure out how to make what we do productive, right? Hardly anyone is actually truly just lazy. There are people who don't act because they don't believe in themselves. They're depressed, right? They're in a low vibrational state, and I've been there, so it's not a judgment. But there are people who are in that state, analysis paralysis, fear, right? That's really almost the only time I see people actually truly lazy. Those are the people that are very talented, but they never make a move, not because they're lazy, but because they don't believe in themselves enough to trust that they're actually going to follow through. It's like having respect and love for yourself to follow through on something, right? So that's the only time that you're lazy. Otherwise, you're going to get the work done. But anyways, I brought that up to say that I started writing poopetry, we call it. It is poop poems. I started it as a fun joke, right? I thought it was funny, and then I showed it to my mom, and I showed it to my auntie, and my auntie had already had some pretty good poop poems that were quite funny. Oh my god, what was the one? There was one short one that was really funny. Upon the throne I did sit, intending to pee, but alas, a shit, right? So funny. Made me crack up. I loved it so much. And so I was just writing poop poems. They were ridiculous. It was intentionally ridiculous. Intentionally something that was just going to be fun and make me laugh. Ironically, we did end up saying, hey, why don't all three of us, my mom, me, and my auntie, collaborate and make a bunch of poop poems? And we have started doing this. So we probably are going to turn it into like a book or something. So it happened to be something that becomes productive, and that can happen. You start with the intention of let's just have fun and be intentionally ridiculous. Improv is so great for that. If you're an actor or actress, I highly encourage you get into improv classes because it's intentionally supposed to just be flow and fun. And the more you sit there and try to think, oh, I gotta think fast on my toes and create something. No, you're supposed to stumble and say stuff that you're like, that made no sense, that was dumb, or get frozen and stuck in the moment and be like, right, and then everyone laughs because they get it. So improv is super fun. Do something intentionally ridiculous so that you don't put expectations on it. Yeah, I started a large painting this week with no plan and no source, and it turned out great. Exactly. That's not to say, again, that you should never go into creating with a plan. Of course, if you, actors and actresses or writers are a perfect example of this, you have a theme in mind. I would like to create something like this. I would like to create a love song. I'd like to create a love story, right? That's a theme that you have in mind. You have a bit of an expectation, but you're not holding fast and tight to exactly what it needs to be and it needing to be perfect or amazing. It's just, okay, I have this idea in mind, but let's see how this turns out, right? So structure has a place, logic has its place, but when you allow yourself to free flow more, and know that not everything you create is going to be a freaking masterpiece. Sometimes, like, y'all think I've been writing songs for almost 2 decades. Actually, 2 decades exactly. Because I started writing poetry and turning into songs when I was like 13, and I'm 33 now. So, you don't think I've made some crappy songs? I've made some songs that didn't make the cut, that I never put out. Not very many. I don't mean I haven't written a lot of bad songs. I mean I haven't not put a lot out. I've taken ones that I didn't think were necessarily my favorite and often pitched them to be in music catalogs where they can use them for commercials, stuff like that. But point is, I've written songs that were not great, right? Not everything's going to make the cut. But it's about getting into that flow of just allowing yourself to freely create, right? Allowing yourself to try new things. Again, if you're one of my acting friends, do the thing in the workshops that you know you're good at to continue to build your skills and get feedback. But if you get that second round in, then try something ridiculous. Try something where you're like, I don't know how this is going to go, but it sounds fun. Because I can tell you from experience, what I thought I was going to be good at as an actress, nope. That's not what they want me to do. That's not what I'm actually really naturally good at. I have to put on a voice and an act in order to do... I wanted to do the cool, sophisticated, kind of more sultry characters. Because I love them. They're fun. Like the more smoky villains. And this very sophisticated thing. I can put on the voice and the act and do it and pull it off. But I don't really get booked for it. When I started just messing around and letting my intuition, which we'll talk about in a second, lead the way, I just started looking at all the different scripts and for some reason being pulled to one, not because, ooh, this is a smoky villain character, yes, this is the one I want to do. No. Because for some reason it caught my attention. And that first thing that comes to mind, pull, is intuition, right? That's creativity. Intuition is so closely tied with creativity. It's really comes from the same source. So when I started just allowing myself to pick scripts based on what felt right to me in the moment, I started doing characters I didn't really expect, but damn, it was like something clicked. I would do the read as this character I haven't really practiced much, but it just felt right. And the coaches would be like, "Wow, this is your sound. Like you crushed it at this character." And I'm like, I was almost mad because I'm like, I worked really hard at this sophisticated, smoky, evil character, but I'm just naturally good at this. And it's not because I can't do the other character. I could continue to develop it and get more natural at it. As I age, my voice will get older. It might be a better fit for that character. But it was the point of beginning to choose things from inspiration and from no expectations, no need to impress anyone, right? That's a big one. I tend to get into workshops or sessions if I'm working on music stuff. And if I have put that person on a high horse and I have made them like, pedestalized them, like I need to impress them because they're connected, and if I impress them, they could introduce me to this person, or I could get popular on social media. Once you start doing that, then it's really hard to create from that energy of inspiration because you are back in your logical mind thinking, what can I do to make this other person like me and think I'm good? And that is not creation. That is not flowing with the inspiration. That is getting into your head, right? Like, we're not selling real estate, you guys. And even then, sales is creative. Sales is an art form. I know people hate to hear that, but let me tell you, because I'm so tapped in these days to my creativity and my flow, I love being sold to. I see the art. Not when someone has a script and they're not letting me speak a word. You could tell the difference when someone calls and they're trying to sell you health insurance and they're reading a script and you're trying to like joke with them and like, "Oh, how's your day going?" and they're dry, right? No, that's not what I'm talking about. A good salesperson flows. They have mojo, right? Like they have swagger. And it's not about them being a cool person, right? Or handsome or beautiful. It's just about them having the confidence because they are in that flow. They're bouncing off of your energy. And as an actress, as an actor, a writer, a singer, when you're co-creating with someone, you're bouncing off each other's energy. So rather than getting into that thinking mind and saying, I need to make it like this, it's got to impress them, step back from that because you're not going to create magic that way. I know because every time I've gone to okay, so when you're a voice actor, and this translates to a lot of other genres too. So obviously I'm talking about voice acting a lot because it's something I do. Once you have taken a lot of classes in any category, writer, singer, jewelry maker, I don't care what you do, you take classes to learn how to get better, right? You're improving your skill, you're growing. You're probably taking classes from someone who also does what you do. Is also a writer, is also an actress, also a singer, whatever. They are higher up than you, obviously, and I say that just in the literal sense of they've been doing it longer, they're already making money at it, whatever. They're teaching it because they have more experience and knowledge than you do. You start there. Once you get really good, typically they'll get to the point where they're like, you need to start putting yourself in front of people that make bigger decisions, right? So for voice acting world, okay, you're done taking classes from other actors. Now you want to look at taking classes from casting directors, right? They are a higher level up because they make decisions. They work for networks. They work for publishing companies. They work for record labels, whatever it is. They make the higher up decisions, right? There are levels to these things. So what happens for me, every time I've taken a casting director class, I went into it like, this is what I need to do to impress them so that I can get into the agencies. Because that is my next step, right? So yes, it is appropriate to logically think, this is an action I should start taking in order to advance my career and take the next step. But when you get into the damn class, or when you actually start writing the book or doing the thing, you gotta let that go. Because if you're coming in with that expectation of impressing someone and needing it to be a certain way, you're not going to flow. And every time for me, I have bombed. Not bombed in the sense that I was god awful terrible, but in the sense that I was like, that was not me in that booth. I was so nervous, my hands were shaking, which I get nervous, but when I'm taking a class or God, when I'm doing an audition for an actual voice acting job, I'm not really that nervous. I've done live directed sessions like on Zoom where they're like listening to me live and not really been that nervous. Just a little bit of butterflies, but it goes away within 10 minutes, right? But these casting director classes, I'm shaking, my mouth is dry. I'm not normal. I'm not me because I'm trying to make something happen. I'm trying to get a result out of my art, out of what I'm trying to create. So don't do that. Don't put people on a pedestal. Know that they, yes, have connections, getting with a publisher or pitching to a certain person. It's a step that you'll take, and it's great, and it's the right thing to do. But when you are actually in the act of expressing your art, your talent, you have to let that go. And the best way to do that is to get playful. So if you are creating, you're feeling that expectation of it needing to be perfect or impressive or get a lot of likes or whatever, that's okay. Just catch yourself and step back for a second and be like, okay, am I having fun? Am I having fun doing this? Is this flowing from my creative state, or am I in my mind trying to think through this? Okay? And by the way, I don't mean, again, that every single time you're creating or expressing your talent, it's going to be 100% joyful every second and you're going to feel full of rainbows and sunshine. No, you're still going to have times where you're like, I'm getting tired. I don't really want to do this for a fifth time. You're making me do it again, and my voice is starting to get tired, or I haven't eaten enough today, so I got a little bit of a hangry headache going on. Like, you're still a human being. So you're still going to have moments of your creation where you're like, I'm not really feeling it. So give yourself a break, okay? And don't put people on a pedestal. Improv sounds so fun. Yes, it is. I think the cool kids say, what did it say? I think the cool kids say that it turned out fire or busted. Yeah, I'm not a cool kid, Oliver, all right? I don't know if we're the same age or not. I can't remember. I think we're close, but I think you might be younger than me. But I'm past that. I've given up. Once I heard the word skibbity toilet, I was like, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. My nephews would know, so I just need to keep them on speed dial. Like, yo, what does bussin' mean? Yeah, improv is super, super fun. Exercises on YouTube. They get your brain flowing with quick reactions. Yeah, the YouTube ones are super fun. Like, if you don't have the funds to go take a class, fine. Go on YouTube, like Oliver just said, and look up improv exercises. If you have someone to do them with, you can do them with a friend, right? Or like we were talking about earlier, to start writing about something ridiculous. Make a poop poem, like I did. Whatever makes you laugh. Don't do something because someone else did it, but whatever makes you giggle or laugh. Fan fiction is so popular. So if you're a writer or you're an actor, getting into fan fiction is great because you could take something you're obsessed with. For me, it's Harry Potter. I'm a freak about Harry Potter. So fan fiction stuff, I love. I love going on YouTube and getting into that. And it sparks my creativity because I'm like, wow, they already took a story that inspired me and they're, branching off with it and making all kinds of cool, extra characters or, some of the fan fiction is crap. Like, I really wish that people would, this is a side note tangent, but I really wish people would stop trying to put Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy together. No, it's never going to happen. It never should happen. It's disgusting. I hate it. Sorry. Okay. It's so easy to fall into the need to impress instead of learn and go with the flow. Yeah. It is, because even for people who aren't doing this as a full-time career and trying to make money, like, that's the obvious thing. When you turn your art into something that is for profit, then of course, at some point you're going to start falling into, what do I need to do to get paid more. And that's okay, you know. But even for people who aren't doing it for a living, you can get to the point where you're like, I see other people getting attention and I'm not getting attention, right? I've had my music up on Spotify and SoundCloud for a long time. And I don't have that many views and plays and downloads. I don't. And it used to bother me because I'm like, I'm working so hard and, you know, what do I have to do to like get these real numbers, not fake plays, but like real fans and numbers. What else do I have to do to make it happen? Now it doesn't bother me because I realize that the people that are meant to be impacted by the things that I do are going to see it. They're going to hear it at the perfect time. And there are music artists, for a great example, who put out an album 10 years ago or a song 5 years ago, and it went absolutely nowhere for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, one day, somebody hears it, puts it on a TikTok, and it blows up. So you're right, very easy to fall into that trap of I'm doing this because, you know, I want to impress someone or I want to get a certain result. If I do it this way and jump on this trend, I could make more money. That's human nature. But again, just remind yourself when you're creating anything to ask yourself that question. Is this coming from fun, flow, you know, what feels good to me, or is this coming from my thinking mind? And if you can tell it's coming from your thinking mind, it's okay. Just take a step back and go, okay, I see you. I see you, mind. You're trying to think your way through this, and we ain't doing that here. We're not using our logic mind to create. But tea must be nasty to stimulate effectively. I'm not trying to stimulate anything, sir. I am trying to get rid of the issues caused by too much sugar, my gut issues. I feel like the whole world who follows me on social media now knows that I have stomach issues. In fact, two of my friends now have been like, I think I know more about your digestive system than I know about you as a person. You're welcome is all I can say. And with that, I've finished this disgusting tea. I'm actually going to add fennel root tea to it as well, because my therapist is also like a holistic. She's trained to be an acupuncturist. She's really into Chinese medicine, so she shares a lot of herbal stuff with me. And she said something about fennel tea helping to move stagnant qi, which is above my brain. I'm like, what? Stagnant qi? But I started doing qigong also. That's another thing. If you're finding that your creativity is constantly blocked, we already talked in the beginning about how doing more mindful activities, right? Whether that's actually meditating, taking walks in the park, you know, just getting your mind off of the logical thinking. Physical movement is so important. I'm not talking to anyone specific right now who's watching this who needs to be regular with their walks or exercise. Anyways, I say that because I want certain people to live a long time and be super healthy so that, you know, they're in my life forever. Anyways, physical movement is so important to keep your creativity going, right? Because when someone is depressed, and I know because I've certainly experienced depression in my life, the first thing they'll tell you is to put your shoes on and just get up and move. That's it. Don't try to think your way out of it, because you're not going to. When you're depressed, you can't think your way out of it. The best thing to do is to get up and move. And if that is just putting your shoes on and walking for 1 minute around the block, then you did it, right? Physical movement is so incredibly important because it gets you out of your mind, right? Unless you're doing a specific sport where you have to think like, oh, I'm going to shoot a basketball like this. Even then, any major athlete out in the world, probably LeBron would tell you, there is a flow state that they get into. That's creativity, right? That's being in the moment, being present. So practicing presence and awareness is super, super important as a creative. And it doesn't have to be woo-woo and spiritual if you're not into that. It's simply being present, right? Being in that flow. So definitely go on more walks. Definitely do whatever form of movement is appropriate and comfortable for you. So if you're not into doing hardcore exercise every day, that's fine. Go walk. I like Qigong. It's like Tai Chi, but it's a little bit more focused on stretching and regenerative, regenerative, regen. What is that word? It's more for regenerating. uh, any swollen, tight spots in your body versus like I think Tai Chi is a little bit more like actually focusing on moves, karate moves. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's movement of energy. Uh, oh yeah, fennel does taste like. You know what? I wonder if that's why. Oh no, I haven't used the fennel yet. It might taste even worse if I add the fennel because I'm thinking licorice root already, oregano, and then if I add fennel, it already tastes like licorice. Ooh, this is gonna taste like butt tea 2.0, right? Oh, anyways, I hope this has been somewhat fun. Again, I'd love to if you want to share your your characters that you created. Feel free. You don't have to do it now. You could do it later. Uh, as you watch the replay, if you're not watching this live, or you can send it to me on social media or whatever. If you drew your character, take a picture of it if you want and send it to me. I'm on Instagram. It's what is my Instagram? It's at my first name Miranda underscore Santillan Santillan. I realized that my name is wrong on the. I don't know if you can see my name on the screen. Can you? If so, my name is wrong. It's my old last name. Miranda underscore Santillan Santillan underscore. Send it to me on Instagram. If you just did a description, post it in the chat or send me a DM on Instagram. I'd love to hear and see about what you created. Yeah, I hope this has been fun, you guys. I'm going to sign off in just a second here because my booth's getting hot because it's 84 degrees today in Vegas and I'm pissed that it's so warm in February. I went up to Mount Charleston today and it was 60 degrees and there were like 3 feet of snow that me and my husband were hiking through. It was really nice. And then we came back down to Vegas and I'm like, why is it over 80 in February? I'm not happy about it. But as a result, I'm sweating right now because my booth has a fan, but you have to keep it low, otherwise it's too loud. So what's the point? Anyways, yeah, drop your description of your character in the comments. Send them to me on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram. I was gonna say I put it in the chat. I don't know if that helps for later. Miranda Santillan. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if you, I think everyone here who I have been speaking to is already in the Dreamweaver Academy, but if you want to do more fun stuff like this, chat like this about how to stay creative, about creative business, mental health stuff, mindset, all of that that comes with being a creator out in the world who's, trying to work on their dreams, trying to achieve things in life that inspire them, right? That make you joyful and fulfilled, and you want a supportive community to help you along the way, to cheer you on. You want to learn more concepts like this. You want to just really stay tapped in and tuned in and all of that fun stuff. Then you got to join Dreamweaver Academy because that's where we're doing this, you guys. So come on in. I will post the link in the comments after this. Otherwise, it's in my About section of YouTube. But this has been super fun. 97 degrees. Ugh, nasty. Oh, that's in Desert Hot Springs. Yeah, see, it's funny that Vegas is actually cooler than California in certain areas right now. But, all right, y'all. Thanks for joining me today. This was really fun. We're going to do this once a month on YouTube. And then obviously in Dreamweaver Academy, we're going to go live twice a week. Tuesdays is kind of just a weekly chat. We'll have a topic each week based on kind of what's been going on in people's minds. We'll chat just like this, but I'll actually be able to talk to you. You'll be able to talk to me with your voice and your face if you'd like. And then on Saturdays, we're going to be doing a book club basically. So it's not too late if you're in Dreamweaver Academy and you want to do the book club. The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Grab it. It's a super short book. Read chapters 1 and 2, and we're going to have a discussion next Saturday, not tomorrow, next Saturday, about chapters 1 and 2 and kind of what's been going on. So, thanks, friends. I will see you on the next one.